I'm the Beauty Professor, and you can find my beauty blog at www.beautyprofessor.net. Today, I'm excited to cover some new products in my collection, most of which I am currently experimenting with, and some of which I've used long enough to say I absolutely love them. And so I just wanted to share with you these particular beauty products because I do feel they are of merit. First up is the Kanebo Sensai Cellular Performance Cream Foundation. And I have covered this in many videos. Certainly it gets discussed a lot on my blog where I have swatches of every shade in the formula. And it is one of my go-to foundations on a perennial level. I recently picked up the new US version, which I've also swatched, in the shade Warm Beige. Now, historically, I've always been the 22, which is natural beige. It's great for NC 23 to 25, maybe even 27 skin tones. And that's typically me for most of the year, but right now I'm at my definite palest in the dead of winter. And so I just went up a shade to the CF13, which is Warm Beige. And Warm Beige is probably at an NC 23 to 25. Here it is in the jar. As with all the shades in this formula, it's just a beautiful whipped, creamy, buildable medium to medium full coverage foundation. Here it is swatched on my wrist. And certainly that's a heavy swatch, but I do love applying this with a beauty blender, and I have it on my face right now along with some powder that I'll be talking about later on in this video. But I'm really happy with Warm Beige for this part of the year. For my skin, it seems to be the most appropriate match, and so I just wanted to talk about this foundation briefly. Speaking of complexion products, I wanted to mention the release of this new RoC Multi-Correction 5-in-1 Perfecting Cream. Now, I'm a RoC skincare ambassador. I'm on my second year of working with the company in that capacity, and really what that means for me is that they keep me up to date on all of the latest science and technology behind what RoC is doing with anti-aging products, and they also give me products to try and obviously discuss with my readers and subscribers. I'm excited that this is the first tinted foundation-like product in the RoC line, at least that I've experienced, and it is a beige that I think, because it's so sheer, will go with most skin tones because it's a 5-in-1 perfecting cream. It has sunscreen, it's a moisturizer, it's got retinol for the anti-aging benefits. It also works to kind of smooth out the skin like a primer might, and it's tinted, which means that you get a little bit of coverage. Here it is swatched on my wrist heavily. You can see that it's just a great neutral beige that I imagine would match most light to medium skin tones, but because it's so sheer, it might be able to go to both polar ends of the spectrum as well. It is lightly scented, but nothing cloying or irritating, and I've tried this a few times over the last couple weeks, and I'm really pleased with the results. You just get a very smooth, even canvas to prep your skin for makeup to come, and I would suppose those with absolutely pristine skin could just get away with wearing this by itself, or if you were going for a really minimal makeup day. For me, I like using it as a primer and following with a bit of foundation, but I love knowing that it has all of the benefits of moisturizer and anti-aging and sunscreen, as well as that tint in a single product. Next up, a great drugstore find that I'm enjoying experimenting with, and that's the Vaselline Lip Therapy Rosy Lips. And I'm certainly not the first person to this party. I know that it's been discussed countless times online, and I'm always intrigued, but I was excited to finally get the chance to try it. And this comes in a miniature Vaseline jar, and I think it's just diminutive and cute. I like that it's totally purse friendly in that regard. And the product itself is a rosy tinted Vaseline. I've grown up using Vaseline. Here it is swatched here. You can see it's a sheer rosy tint, shiny. It's emollient and slightly tacky, if only to stay in your lip zone, but it's not sticky because Vaseline by itself is not sticky, at least in my experience. I've grown up using Vaseline for lips, eyebrows, and certainly even to nourish one's eyelashes. And actually for a long time wearing Vaseline was like the only makeup I was allowed to wear, at least in junior high. My parents have rules. But I love this, and had this existed then, I definitely would have lobbied for having this allowed as well. It's just a beautiful, nourishing treatment and totally accessible at the drugstore. In the realm of utilitarian products, allow me to introduce the Biochemistry by Dr. Haworth Active Analgesic Foot Spray. Goodness, that's a long name for what's essentially a pain relieving foot spray. It's in this great travel purse-sized spray container, and what this container houses is a formula that has a numbing agent of sorts that reduces foot pain upon contact. Now, I love wearing high heels. I wear them all week long while I'm teaching, and certainly I try to be judicious about the types of heels that I embrace so that my shoes are properly vetted before I commit to wearing them for 10 or 12-hour days. That being said, even the most comfortable heeled shoe can become uncomfortable over time, and this makes a huge difference in those moments. So when your feet are really sore and tired, maybe you have a nerve that has been hit that's uncomfortable, but you're still committed to the shoes, spraying this on the bottom of the feet actually reduces the pain significantly. It numbs the feet, but it doesn't take away the feeling. It basically just blocks the pain feeling. And that is absolutely remarkable for me. I love knowing I have this for those excruciatingly long days when foot pain is an unfortunate reality. Next up, a product that I've been sampling recently is the Lancome Visionnaire Blur, and I have it in this test tube because it has not yet been released to the mass market. It comes out next month, and I was given the opportunity to try it in advance, and it's a fascinating product. It's designed to fill in fine lines, pores, and also kind of brush over unevenness to create a more perfected canvas prior to perhaps applying makeup. And I find it does all these things, though I'm certainly still in the testing phase. So, for example, and pay no mind to the packaging, because I know it'll be infinitely more eye-catching than this once it's released, it comes out looking like this, kind of a thicker cream that when blended into the skin instantly disappears, but the skin is visibly smoother and it has almost a matte texture. It's not matte in a dry way, but it also, and I'd like to point this out, is not shiny or shimmery at all. It's not relying on light reflecting particles to perfect the skin. Rather, the ingredients just make for a really smooth canvas. So I'll be doing a follow-up post on this, but I did want to mention that I am currently in the testing phases of the Visionnaire Blur, so more on this soon. Two new lip color acquisitions for me are as follows. I was at the Neiman Marcus trend show last week, and I always like to pick up some kind of souvenir of my event, and certainly I in no way needed another pink lip color, but I couldn't help myself, and to be fair, I had not yet picked up anything in this formula from this line. This is the Cle de Peau Lipgloss, and I picked it up in shade number 5, and then later at another Neiman Marcus shade number 12. So 5 is a really beautiful shimmering pink, but it has very complex shimmers, and I hope this is picking up. This pink has lovely opacity for a lip gloss, but it does have a kind of duochrome shimmer effect as well. It's not frosty, it's just more radiant in nature. It gives a lovely sheen, and it has some gold undertones, some pink micro glitter. I'm currently wearing it on my lips right now, and I just love the effect that it gives. It has this very diminutive doe foot applicator, and scent-wise, just a light kind of perfumed smell, but it does dissipate after application. And then here is the number 12, which looks nearly clear in the tube, but is actually a slightly frosty white clear. And oddly enough, I don't have anything like it. Here it is swatched on my wrist. It just has the finest, like, ground diamond particles, if you will. And it creates this lovely, slightly white sheen on the lips. I can't wait to mix it or put it over existing colors, but I do like that my doe foot is still pristine, so I'll wait for the right moment to do that. But on its own, it just makes for very lush, healthy looking lips with a little bit of interesting sheen on top. So here are my new Cle de Peau glosses, and I'll be doing full write-ups on these soon. Next up are some new brushes that I intend to do a full blog post and video profile on, but I did want to mention that I have been having the luxury and pleasure of working with the Jenny Patinkin face brush line. And Jenny Patinkin is a very accomplished makeup artist in Chicago. She founded the Dollface Beauty School, and she released, and a couple of years ago, she released an eponymous line of brushes. So I have been experimenting with a lovely collection of them, but a few that I wanted to note is this really interesting blending brush. It is great for blending concealer, and I did profile it in my Valentine's Day blog post. I love just applying, for example, my Cle de Peau concealer in beige right under my eyes and then just stippling it in. This brush just does the most magnificent job of making makeup look like your real skin. It just tamps it in so nicely, blends it seamlessly, and it works with a myriad of products. Another is this glorious ultra soft face brush, which I've also featured in my Hourglass ambient lighting blush video and blog post. I love using it for blush. You just swirl it into whatever powder you have for your cheeks and then just lay it onto the cheeks, and this deposits color so nicely. And then there's the all over face brush, which is currently in the process of drying. I had recently washed it, but as a brush it is just stunning. It does a fantastic job of applying foundation or powder and even colored powders like blushes or bronzers, but I love using it as a stippling brush for cream and liquid foundations. It does a marvelous job of just blending it into the face, and you could really feasibly use this with almost all of your complexion products and get the most seamless finish of application ever. So here's the all over face brush. And just on a preemptive note, the Jenny Patinkin line also features these amazing storage cylinders that when one is put on top of the other and snapped into place, they're great protective travel cases, or you could even just store your brushes on your counter that way, one where the snaps are already in place. More on the Jenny Patinkin line soon, but I did want to mention her marvelous brushes. Getting to the last 5 products of this video. This is the Beauty is Life Powder Compact, and I can't believe I have amassed yet another powder, but I cannot help myself when it comes to powders and foundations. It's some kind of illness. At any rate, I was at Barney's on the beautiful foundation beauty floor, which if you haven't had a chance to see it and you're somewhere near Beverly Hills or New York where those floors have been overhauled to become the foundation, I highly recommend going and taking a peek. It is just stunning. Anyway, the Beauty is Life line is a favorite for me at Barney's. It's clean, it's simple, it's streamlined, it's difficult to locate unless you're there. And I just picked up the powder in 02WC, which is light beige. There it is swatched. And it's a good color for me in the winter because my skin is kind of in this weird in-between place where it's very light and most of my foundations and powders are a hair too dark. So I like wearing this over the foundations that I choose to wear right now. Beautiful matte, buildable to medium coverage. I haven't tried wearing this as a powder foundation yet because I typically prefer creams and liquids, but as a touch-up powder, it completely banishes shine. It's seamless, it makes your skin look like porcelain, and it also evens things out nicely because it is pigmented, as I've mentioned. There's no scent and no cause for irritation on sensitive skin, and the compact itself is just really simple and pretty. So I like this when I'm looking for a powder with more coverage for my skin. Otherwise, I definitely still stick with my Surratt Diaphane powder for touch-ups and to even out the canvas. Next up is the Ellis Faas Creamy Eyes in E106. And I love Ellis Faas products for their really interesting packaging. I recently talked about the Hot Lips. on my blog, which is a highly pigmented velvety lip product that comes in a similar package. But the Creamy Eyes was not a formula that I had ventured into yet until recently. And this is a very fascinating kind of plum taupe brown. I currently have it on my eyes with just a touch of Chanel Initiation, but for the most part the pigmentation you see on my eyelids is due to this E106, which is this plummy taupe shade. There is no shimmer involved on its own, and the way I apply it is just directly from the click pen to my eyelid. I spread it on and then I use a brush. I've been using a little Hakuhodo blending brush initially to get it even on my eyelids and then follow up perhaps with another shadow. This formula is really long lasting. In fact, when you try to wash it off in the shower, maybe with just a little bit of soap, it doesn't particularly budge. But if you use a lot of soap, then it does come off cleanly. So I like how stalwart it is. It doesn't budge or migrate into fine lines. It's just a really fantastic long wearing eyeshadow option, and I'm really happy that I stumbled upon it. Next are the Laura Mercier Longwear Cream Eye Pencil. This is a new release for spring, and I have it in 5 shades. These are the mini. These are the perfect size to just toss in your makeup bag and not have it take up a lot of space. This Longwear cream formula is really impressive. I have particularly been loving the Sage, which is a beautiful kind of yellow toned light green. It looks like this. Almost a khaki, if you will, but absolutely no shimmer, and they are very long wearing, so once you give it a couple seconds to set, it does stay in place nicely. I've been using it on my upper lid close to the lash line for an interesting infusion of color. Another shade that is stunning is the Violet, which is a very deep regal purple, and yet it's not an ultraviolet. I love using this in my waterline, and I find that this purple goes nicely with a variety of eye shades. So the formula, completely long lasting, it glides on smoothly, and I will have a close-up profile of these pencils in the very near future. Taking a step away from beauty and skincare for a moment, I've been reading a book called A Broken Kind of Beautiful by Katie Ganshert. And it's a very interesting kind of lifestyle novel about a model who finds modeling is not a way to sustain yourself forever, and she basically has to figure out who she is. She started modeling when she was really young, and so by the time she's in her mid-20s, it's not working out for her anymore. And so she goes on this journey to rediscover who she is and what her purpose is in the world. I'm currently reading an advanced copy. It's not for sale yet, but it does go on sale on April 15th, so just in a month or two it will be available. And I would say this, if you're like me, you like reality TV, the whole human dimension, you find that enthralling. I would say this is like reality TV without a lot of the more unclassy, embarrassing moments. It's real humanity kind of working their way through the human condition, but without those elements you might choose to look away from if you're watching it on reality TV. So great human interest story, and definitely because it has its ties to the fashion industry, I'm finding it fascinating on that level as well. Finally, the Diptique Figure. Good grief, I do not speak French. I should probably learn for all the French words I attempt to say in my videos. But this is the diffuser, otherwise known as Le Sablier. But I'll call it a diffuser because that's what it is. It is an hourglass shaped diffuser. I'll go ahead and take it out of the box in a minute. But I love the fig scent from this particular line, which of course is famous for their candles. And this diffuser is not only incredibly aromatic, it's effective, but it's also just visually stunning to look at. So here's what's going on with this diffuser. Unlike diffusers that you might be familiar with that have the reeds that kind of absorb the fragrant oil and send it out into the room, this is entirely enclosed. It has 2 components. The upper that houses this diffusing panel, and then the lower which you actually lock into place that has the oil. And the oil just kind of travels through this middle chamber and out into the room. Once again, This fig fragrance is truly one of my favorites. I've already run through a candle of the identical scent. It's fresh, it's slightly mysterious in tone. It's not your everyday fragrance feel. There's always something kind of unusual about fig for me, but I just adore it. I don't think it's necessarily season specific, and so it can be completely appropriate for all the months of the year. And I just think it brings a really interesting quality into the home. I received mine from Neiman Marcus, and it's just not only aesthetically pleasing, but certainly from an olfactory perspective, absolutely charming. Alright, and last item, I promise. I did want to mention something that's kind of one of a kind. It was my Valentine's Day gift this year. I didn't have anything in mind, but this kind of spontaneously came my way, and so I thank my husband for that. This is a Art Deco antique bracelet that is sterling silver and yellow and blue topaz. And I just love the filigree. I hope the camera's able to pick that up. If not, I took pictures and I'll try to insert them. But it has filigree and obviously very cleanly set stones. I did get it sized so that it fits my wrist perfectly, but I just love the fact that it's not only embodying history from the Art Deco period, but it's also just really pretty and unlike any other bracelet that I currently own. And because of what it's constructed with, I just leave it on my wrist. I wear it in the shower, and that's typically a prerequisite with me when it comes to new jewelry, that I can just leave it on until I decide to take it off. This is a really special bracelet to me, and sometimes I just like to look at it and wonder, you know, who wore this and what was their story, and I'm happy to be giving it life still. And so concludes this video. I hope that you found the items and the products that I chose to cover interesting, and I welcome your questions and your comments. As always, please don't forget to visit me at my beauty blog, Beauty Professor, which can be found at www.beautyprofessor.net. Take care.